I really like Netflix original programming or stuff that's like first released on Netflix, like, Glow or like 13 Reasons Why or You or like 13 Reasons Why and all that kind of thing. But, like Netflix original program tends to be really good for like a season, maybe two, and then it kind of just falls off. Like 13 Reasons Why definitely had that problem. You definitely had that problem. A bunch of their other shows definitely had that problem. But the one I really wanted to get into now is Stranger Things, obviously, because that's in the title. I was watching Stranger Things for this, because I'm a completionist. I don't like to. I watched all of Game of Thrones. I didn't let it go, and then I watched the new series too. Of course, why I would never not. House of the Dragon, amazing, great, great work. But yeah, I watched the bad season of Game of Thrones. Got to finish it off strong. Orange is New Black, everything. And I guess the problem is like when you're a completionist, you kind of really want to see things be good. And Stranger Things just, I don't know what was going on in these last couple seasons. Even the last season kind of gave you a lot of real cool things to hang on to. I think they just butchered it. Like they left you with this idea where the big villain, there was like plot twists and turns and up, down, left, right kind of thing. That was really good. But then they didn't deliver on any of it, Like, they could have had this thing where, like, the big bad was, like, a completely different big bad, but then instead they did, like, something where it was the same big bad, and then everybody's evil and whatever, and then the mom kills the villain for some reason instead of one of the kids, and, like, what's the point of that, And, like, I like strong villains. I think villains are cool. They have a lot more character than the protagonists who are just like, I'm good. Like that's not really much of a story. It's like, great, I'm a great person. Woo, vote for me, right? Like that's not a good story, right? But the villain is like, oh, here's the bit where Vecna is like a sociopath. But then here's the bit where Vecna is controlled by an alien that makes him a sociopath. But then we get to actually Vecna was evil the entire time and was a sociopath. And it's like, who does that for? Who wants to see that? I don't. Does anybody else want to see that? I would have loved if they, Vecna still dies, obviously, but then Vecna teams up with the kids and does like super sacrifice, and then you're like, oh, what a payoff. The big villain, we turned him. Like that would be cooler than like actually the villain is entirely evil and we're just going to let people speculate that maybe the villain wasn't evil but something else, right? It's stupid. And then the ending scenes were terrible. And like you create this big villain, right? The Mind Flayer or whatever, and it's like giant monster or whatever, great. And it's like you don't even let the giant villain get to Earth and then kill it at Earth. That would have been cool. But instead you kill it in like the desert somewhere. And I mean, I get that probably saved a lot in cost because the show apparently cost a lot of money, So I guess like you gotta take your trades or your bets off or whatever. All bets are off. But I guess they did that with Game of Thrones because they were gonna have elephants and then they didn't have elephants because of the budget or something. So I get it, but like, you build this thing up for like 10 years, and that's the problem with Netflix, right? You're building these shows up for so long. Like, it's like a big part of your life. Like, You was around for years. 13 Reasons Why was Orange is the New Black, around for years. And you kind of have to, you kind of just let people down with it because what else are you going to do, right? Because it's been on for so long. Game of Thrones was a great example. Like, I started watching Game of Thrones basically in, like, university, right? Like, I'm not in university anymore, thank God. Like, but the last season sucked. They were really bad, right? And everybody agrees on that. And it's just like they were bad because people were tired. Not the fans. Fans were like, yes, let's go. Big part of my life, like midlife crisis, let's go. But the people on the show, like the directors, hated it. They didn't want to do it anymore. So they were just like, let's cut everything in half. And that's kind of how I felt about Stranger Things, where it was like, we're going to give you this 2-hour finale. Right? And that's when I really turned on it. It was the finale. Give me a 2-hour finale. I'm watching. I'm like, this is good. It's okay. It's like, okay, like we're already here. Let's finish off strong. And then they finish everything like before the end of the episode, like 30 minutes before the. I'm waiting for like a big climax. There's no climax here. It just ends. It's just like, oh, we killed the big villains and now we're done. It's like, just give me some explosions, bro. Give me some James Cameron type, Die Hard, Con Air, Nicolas Cage type of huge. You know, give me something like that. And maybe then the reviews would be way better. You know, you get your action in there. But we didn't have that. And maybe that's just indicative of what the show is based on, which is Dungeons and Dragons. I guess you don't have explosions in Dungeons and Dragons. I guess. I didn't know that. I thought Dungeons and Dragons, big explosions everywhere, and that's just how it is. So, I guess Netflix, this is why you're getting kind of, ambushed from, like, Disney Plus and, like Amazon Prime and Crave and stuff. At least where I'm in Canada, so I don't know about all the other things. But, maybe for your next exclusive, you could build something huge. Big set pieces, big explosions, really hook people in, story of compelling villain that's like really compelling or whatever, and that you kind of like relate to, like Black Panther. Everybody loved the villain in Black Panther. Do something like that. Like, not this like kind of sucky Stranger Things whatever. Like, but here's the other thing about Stranger Things. This is the other thing that pissed me off. Okay, Stranger Things is designed on 80s nostalgia. Okay, and that's fine. But I wasn't born in the 80s, barely. Okay, like I'm not an 80s kid. Where's the 90s nostalgia? Patent pending, copyright, trademark. I would love to see a Stranger Things with 90s nostalgia. Let's have your Sega Genesis, your N64, your Sony PlayStation, your N64, like whatever's big in the 90s. He-Man is 80s. He-Man is 80s. Pokemon. You got Pokemon everywhere. Maybe the show is about you got to catch them all, and there's like 158 villains or something like that. And like you catch them with a Game Boy, and the Game Boy is a metaphor for like it's a metaphor. Okay, it's a metaphor for something. I don't know yet, but that would be cool. Like you Game Boy is a metaphor. You're collecting different cartridges and that kind of thing. I would watch a couple episodes of that, and hopefully it wouldn't. I don't know. I'll leave it to whoever who wants to develop this. Just give me a royalty check. Just make it good. Like, have the villain, like, whoever the big bad is. It could be just like the Pokemon movie. You got, like, the Mewtwo or whatever, and, like, you have that equivalent there. It'd be great. See, like, we're spitballing here. So, Netflix, what I'm really saying is, I'm here for contracts. If you want me to develop some shows for you, I've got a semi-successful YouTube channel here with my 20 subscribers, and we could do things together, Netflix. Don't turn down this opportunity.